All right, so Bosch Legacy. By the way, I love the fact that they do 2 episodes a week. 2, not 1 episode a week. The 1 episode, I like kind of parsing things out a little bit, but 1 episode a week, come on, man.
Well, and in this show, I will say, and I immersed heartily as a fan of the series, it's addictive, and you'd mainline the entire season if you could.
Yep, and we're excited to have him on. He's got ties to Philadelphia as well. Please welcome actor Titus Welliver to our program from Bosch Legacy. How you doing, Titus?
I'm well. What's going on over there by the Schuylkill?
Yeah, very good. And you said over there, too. I like that. You got the full...
Oh, yeah. I had an aunt who had she was from, my parents were from Philly, and everything was going over. I'm going over to store. I'm going over town. And I thought that she had a pilot's license or something when I was a kid, that she literally was
flying over, yeah.
Hey, by the way, Titus, with your connections to Philly, just reading up a little bit, your dad was the dean of Penn at one point?
Yeah, for 25 years, he was not the dean of Penn. He was the dean of the Graduate School of Fine Arts.
Oh, wow.
But both he and my mother went to PCA, which was then known as the Philadelphia Museum School.
Huh.
And then my mother went to Girls High. She was a West Philly girl.
Yeah.
My dad was from northern Pennsylvania, Millville, and my mother's most of her family were from the Wissahickon Creek area.
Okay,
so your bona fides are top notch here. Yeah, you're a son, even though you're West Coast now. And the thing about Bosch that is so great, and especially Bosch Legacy, is it's in the vein of the great Raymond Chandler. You know, L.A. is sort of a character as part of it. It's got that whole element to it. I mean, but you always keep your Philadelphia roots at some level, correct?
Yeah. I mean, they're deeply ingrained in me. I mean, I go back now and again. I'm actually going to go there at some point in May because a friend of mine has 3 rock bands, and
what?
They're doing the Sasanta tour, and so my friend Maynard, he's the lead singer for Tool, Perfect Circle, and Pussifer.
Okay.
And so Pussifer and Perfect Circle are touring with Primus, doing the Sasanta tour. So I'm going to try to shoot down to Philly for that.
Oh, we know them well. Yeah, we play them. So that's very cool. So you by the way, I have to tell you, I'm a huge Sideshow collectibles guy as well. I know you are collecting mania.
No.
I envy your. I know. I envy your collection. You've actually done videos for Sideshow. I'm watching it. My wife's looking at me like I'm an idiot. I said, "You don't understand." He gets it. Titus gets it.
Titus and all the stuff that he can't fit in his house, he brings here and puts in our office.
That's exactly. Or now my eldest son has gotten bitten by it, and he went, "It really is a bit of an addiction, isn't it?" No, yeah. I don't want to talk about it. I refer to Sideshow when I go to their headquarters, where which I do with some frequency. I call it the crack house because you go in there and you start to shake.
Yes.
Well, I have a question then, because
paradise.
I noticed you got some ink. What's more addictive, tattoos or your collectibles?
Well, if I had as much ink as I have collectibles, then I would literally have to leave this business and join the circus.
No, it is impressive, and I bow down to your collection. It's formidable. So, but on the note of Bosch Legacy, which you want to get people watching.
On Prime, by the way, I need to make sure I mention that. Yeah.
Yes, on Prime, which is... So I started watching the series years ago and loved it. And as is the nature of streaming shows, you're never quite sure when a new season is coming on. So I detached, and watching last night, I kid you not, Titus, 4 episodes. It's as crisp as great. And I love the conceit of Bosch now being a private detective and that whole element. I think in a way that is a major step forward for the character and realizing all the attributes he has in the best way. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I completely, I get it. And that happens in the books as well. And then eventually in the books, he finds his way. He does the PI thing, sort of juggles it, and then becomes a volunteer cold case homicide detective for San Fernando Police Department. But I think that, Michael and Tom Bernardo and Eric Overmeyer found a great way, and when we spun off and started Legacy, to kind of keep him active enough doing his private eye stuff and also having Maddie being a cop, that those things really blended well. So
that's his daughter.
you also,
Yeah.
there's the sense though of him, a bit of the fantasy regret. He's asked, do you miss the job? And of course he always says, I miss the work, not the politics, which is what we know about Harry, and anything that involves that, as he says, it's above his pay grade.
Yeah, so many of these. Listen, he to me is one. I would consider the character of Bosch, and especially the way that you portray him as a classic anti-hero, the classic there for the little guy. Doesn't like it's like a dirty justice. Like, you have to do some stuff to get the right stuff done, which is, I think, what establishes Bosch as such a unique character, such a hero.
He's the quintessential anti-hero, and he does things like what he refers to as a workaround, but he never does things that are necessary. I mean, they skirt to the edge of being unlawful, but he's not corrupt. Bosch would never beat a confession out of someone or plant evidence on somebody. He's just relentless, which makes him kind of even more formidable, particularly as he, working as a private eye. He doesn't have the same accessibility to the tools when he would be working regular cases.
Let me ask you, this is a cherished series, so many books, and a long time with the series. At the beginning of it all, you take on something like this, I assume you have the weight of the fan base that exists for the books looming over you. Was that ever an issue?
For about a nanosecond, and then I thought, also having Michael Connelly there, it was not your typical situation where the writer is never present. Michael and I worked directly together for 10 years, wrote a couple of episodes together. So you just have to kind of move past that daunting task. Not everyone is going to necessarily come on board, but I found the show has been, obviously very well received. So I think that hurdle kind of naturally just worked itself out.
Over the years,
sure, yeah. You think about it for a second,
of course, yeah.
Reading Moby Dick, I'm sure people saw the movie and went, "Oh, I don't think Gregory Peck is. That's not who I'd cast as Ahab."
Right.
You can't please everyone.
Nah.
So over the years, Ian Fleming admitted after a while, as he wrote one or two Bond movies after knowing Connery, he was not a fan of Connery at the beginning, and then started to give Bond Scottish heritage and so on and so forth. Have you influenced the way the books have been written? Has Michael incorporated both ways, vis-a-vis, you adopting attributes of the character and the character in the books adopting your performance and who you are as Bosch?
I don't know so much my performance influencing the character, but Michael has said that when he writes, that he can hear my voice when he's writing Harry's. When Harry's speaking in the books, he will hear my voice. So I suppose that's as much influence as. But I'll take anything. I'll take anything. And I love doing the audiobooks. They're a lot of fun.
That's so cool.
Well, you've got a really cool resonant tone, and I love listening to audiobooks regularly. So I've got to check out some of the work that you've done. But one piece of work that you've done, and I was not aware of, was being the voice of Rorschach in the animated Watchmen, which is phenomenal. Thank you very much. And that is a cool character to take on, especially. With as breathy and as gravelly as Rorschach is known to be. Does that affect your voice? Do you have to go tenderly into those sessions when you do Rorschach, or when you did that?
Yeah, I could only record for about 2.5 hours at the most, because I would blow out my voice. I mean, regardless of voice training and all of that, that's a lot of wear and tear. So we'd record until even the engineers would say, it's starting to go. So we'd back off. But that was a lot of fun. And of course, being an avid comic collector and fan, the privilege to play Rorschach of all the characters in that, and and I thought it was a great realization of it because they really took it panel. You
Yes.
know, it looked like it was lifted directly.
It was true to the source material, which is great. And this is a side note, but Steve and I are big. We're friends with Zack Snyder. He comes on our show regularly. He's got Philly ties as well, and we loved his interpretation of The Watchmen. I think it was one of the best comic films ever made. And as a fellow nerd, did you enjoy his interpretation of it?
Oh yeah, I loved it. I mean, I was excited because, you know, for years they kept talking. It was being, you know, it was going to be this director was going to do it, and then that, and then it just sort of, it was bouncing around, and I love Zack Snyder's stuff. So when I finally heard that he was doing it, I was like, okay, that's in really, really good hands. The film is fantastic.
Yeah, and you know,
really,
however
really
it comes
good.
out, Alan Moore was not going to like it. So
Sure.
it was all
Right.
But I mean, I don't know how much closer you could get than that. I mean, literally, as you say, panel by panel was represented in the movie, and that's so. Let me ask you with this, and we're talking Bosch Legacy, but in a perfect world, what geeky character would you love to play? What Star Wars character? What superhero? Who would you like to play?
Villain.
Who's on your bucket list?
Well, I played a commander in the Empire on an episode of The Mandalorian, but of course, I think my dream thing in the Star Wars world would either be a Sith Lord or playing a Jedi, something like that. The character I always loved from the Marvel universe was Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah.
And they finally made a film of it, but it was a different version of the Kraven that I knew. He was kind of a good guy, and Kraven was always a favorite because he didn't have any superpowers. He was just incredibly strong, and, you know, formidable. I mean, he used to wail on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But I loved the Ditko. The early Ditko drawings and
Very
and all
cool.
those guys, and
Yeah.
Romita, and of course Gil Kane, all the guys who drew Spidey.
Well, you're playing a formidable character in Bosch and Bosch Legacy, obviously. And every Thursday, there's 2 new episodes. It'll wrap on April 17th. So you want to get in and get these while the getting is good. But we'd love to have you, if you come back to Philly and you got time, love to have you here at WMMR, man. It'd be great to sit down for a longer conversation.
I would love to be there in person and share a butterscotch crimpet.
By the way, cannot endorse this enough. You have to watch Bosch Legacy. It is top level television. I love it.
Excellent. All right, Titus, take care of yourself. We'll talk to you soon, okay, man?
You too. Thanks for having me, guys. Have a
Anytime.
great day.
Titus Welliver, guys. Bosch and Bosch Legacy. I got to go back and watch the whole thing.
Do you know what it is? It's and I was talking last week about Raymond Chandler and the script for like the Maltese Falcon and Double Indemnity and these where every sub character is written really well, and William Devane is in the series, Preston, and a lot of great performances, and everything makes sense. There's no moment where you're going, oh, that seems.
Remind me who William Devane is.
He played Kennedy in the.
Oh,
13,
I know.
yeah.
Great actor.
Sells gold on.
Tons of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
he's
he's
excellent.
and then who else? The cast is tremendous.
Every time I ever go over to my parents' house or my son goes over to my parents' house, we are called upon to be tech support. And one of the main goals is to make sure that the DVD players are operating properly and streaming functions. The number one request every single time we go over there is, am I going to be able to watch Bosch? And my dad loves the show. It's Bosch and The Sopranos on repeat. And so my dad is super excited to have another season of Bosch Legacy coming out.
By the way, he's got this house, Bosch does, in this series, Preston, that is one of those on stilts, classic L.A. homes with the most magnificent view.
Oh, like on a cliff?
Yeah. In fact, in the second episode, there's an earthquake, and he gets red carded. Basically, so they're saying this is not safe until you get an inspector to come out. But it's amazing.
Wow, that looks like the house that Mel Gibson pulled out with the truck in Lethal Weapon 2.
Yes, you're right. You're right.